welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something fascinating, the invisible stages that separate real masters from amateurs.
Exactly. We're drawing on these incredible ancient Japanese systems and think samurai, Zen monks, master swordsmen.
And the idea is to map out how they achieve that level of skill, that almost, invincibility.
Right. We're going to unpack three frameworks: Shohari, Joji, and Musashi's principles. Think of it as a blueprint for really deep learning and, honestly, radical consistency.
A blueprint anyone can use.
That's the core idea. Our sources stress this has pretty much nothing to do with natural talent or intelligence. It's about understanding the path.
Because the big lie is that masters are just born different, right? That they have some gift.
Precisely. And our sources really argue that's just an excuse, a way to avoid the hard work. The real path is tough, structured.
And the first step sounds like it requires checking your ego at the door.
Oh, absolutely. It's fundamental to the first framework we need to talk about. Shohari.
Shohari. Okay, break that down. I know it's often translated as obey, break, let go.
That's the gist. And to really get the weight of that first stage, Shu, let's talk about Yamato. This young guy, obsessed with martial arts.
Right, the one who trained alone for a year.
Yeah. Reading every strategy manual he could find, thought he was getting ahead.
But when he finally met a real master...
The master was basically horrified, told him he'd just cemented mistakes. It was like trying to build a castle starting with the roof.
Because he skipped the foundations, like posture.
Exactly. He jumped to complex strategy before mastering the absolute basics. And that skip stage, that's Shu, obey, copy.
Copy, exactly. No thinking.
Zero thinking. Zero questioning, zero improvising. It's the death of the ego, like you said. If the master says breathe this way for 10 minutes, you do it. If they say do a basic horizontal strike 1,000 times...
You do it 1,000 times. Identically.
Identically.
Okay, but that sounds, frankly, incredibly boring. And maybe even a bit insulting if you feel like you already understand the concept. Doesn't it stifle creativity?
That is the exact sticking point for most people. It feels counterintuitive. But the masters knew the conscious mind, the part that reads books and thinks it's smart, is actually slow.
Slow.
And inefficient for high-level performance. The goal of Shu isn't intellectual understanding, it's automation. Burning the skill into your nervous system.
And there's science behind this. You mentioned a neuroscientist.
Yes, University of Tokyo. Studied motor skills, found something specific about that number, 1,000 repetitions.
Okay, what happens at 1,000?
So, get this. Doing a specific correct movement 300 to 500 times starts building a pattern in the cerebellum. That's your coordination center. But hit about 1,000 correct reps. And the skill literally migrates. It moves from your slow thinking prefrontal cortex to the brain's automatic system, like driving a car. You don't think about every little movement anymore.
Ah, okay. So until it migrates, it's taking up mental bandwidth.
Huge amounts. Makes you slow, easily tired, unable to react. That repetition isn't boring. It's literally building the wiring.
And if you improvise too early...
You break the pattern formation. The migration doesn't happen efficiently.
So those eternal students we all know, the ones who collect information, but never seem to perform under pressure.
They're stuck in their heads. They have the map, the knowledge, but they refuse to do the walking, the tedious automation of Shu.
They confuse knowing about the path with actually walking it.
Exactly. They think the basics are beneath them. But without that automated foundation, everything falls apart when things get real.
Okay, so you push through Shu, the skill becomes automatic, then comes stage 2. Break or adapt.
Right. And this requires Shu to be complete. You can't break the rules effectively until you've mastered them.
So Yamato, after mastering the first school's forms, went to a second master.
Yeah, and this master taught stuff that seemed completely contradictory. High stance versus low stance, different guards.
That must have been confusing. How do you reconcile that?
That's the point of Ha. Because he'd automated the forms from the first school, the contradictions forced him to look deeper to the principles underneath.
Ah, so like principles of energy movement or reading an opponent's intent?
Yeah.
Things that are universal?
Precisely. He realized both masters, despite different styles, were teaching the same core truths. Ha is about understanding those underlying principles.
So the techniques learned in Shu become tools.
Exactly. Tools you can adapt, modify, or even discard because you now understand why they work. The forms aren't prisons anymore. They're instruments guided by principle.
Which leads eventually to stage 3.
Right.
Read, separate, transcend.
This is that almost mythical state, like the story of the old master winning a duel in 3 moves using no recognizable techniques.
He just responded.
Pure response, pure flow. The techniques aren't yours anymore, they use you. There's no gap between seeing and acting.
Yamato talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Knowing 500 techniques versus 0.
Yeah, it's a key insight. Knowing 500 techniques means you have 500 limited options, and you have to consciously pick one. Stressful. But being in having 0 techniques, means you have infinite options. You create the perfect response for that unique moment on the fly. You've gone beyond the forms.
It sounds incredible, effortless even. But getting through Shu, that relentless, boring repetition, that's the killer.
That's where 99% of people fall off. They start strong, maybe last a few weeks, then life happens, or boredom wins.
So how do you sustain that grind? How do you keep going when every cell is screaming for novelty or just a day off?
Okay, that brings us perfectly to the second framework, Yoji. This is the Zen monk system for, well, essentially continuous practice without gaps.
Continuous practice, no gaps. Sounds intense.
It is. But the monks figured out that consistency isn't really about motivation. It's about structure. It's about eliminating negotiation.
Negotiation, like arguing with yourself whether to practice today.
Exactly. That internal debate is where discipline dies. So, Joji Principle 1, irreversible commitment.
How do you make something truly irreversible?
Think about those Zen temples. Bell rings at 3:30 a.m. every day. Since, 1200 AD,
Yeah.
the monks don't decide to meditate. They change their identity. They are meditators.
Okay.
And making the commitment public amplifies this. There's neuroscience here, too.
Ah, the Harvard study about public declarations.
Right. When you declare your goal publicly, like Raphael in our source material did on social media, your primitive brain sees failure as a social threat, loss of status.
So failing becomes more painful than doing the hard thing.
Exactly. Suddenly, the discomfort of the practice is less than the anticipated pain of public failure. You use your own social wiring against your resistance.
Clever. Okay, commitment is irreversible. But my brain still argues, okay, I will do it, but maybe later.
And that kills momentum, which leads to principle 2, non-negotiable hours. Decision fatigue is real. Wasting energy deciding when drains the energy needed for doing.
So you pick a time and stick to it no matter what.
Precisely. 5 a.m., right after coffee, whatever. The specific time isn't as important as its fixity. Remove time as a variable your brain can argue about. Make it automatic.
Right. But the brain's sneaky. If it can't argue when or if, it argues what. This is boring. Let's mix it up. Try something new today.
Ah, yes, the siren song of variety, which leads us to principle 3. Eliminate variety, at least in the early stages.
Eliminate variety. Doesn't that contradict, well, everything we hear about keeping things fresh?
For building bedrock consistency, variety is poison. Think Dogen, the Zen master. He insisted on identical practice. Same sequence, same timing, day after day, until the mind just gives up fighting.
Wow.
There's MIT research backing this too. Repeating an action in the same context around 66 times starts automating it in the basal ganglia. Sameness builds the habit pathway faster.
So identical practice makes it automatic, like brushing your teeth. You stop deciding, you just do.
Exactly. The trigger, time, context, leads directly to the action. No negotiation.
Okay, but life does happen. You get sick, you travel, your car breaks down. The all-or-nothing voice kicks in. Well, I missed today. Might as well take the week off.
And that gap is fatal. Which brings us to principle 4. Continuity over perfection. Practice must continue without gaps. Even tiny ones matter.
So if you can't do the full hour, you do, what, 5 minutes?
Even less sometimes. A trickle. If you're traveling, maybe it's just push-ups in the airport bathroom like Raphael did. Can't do your 20-minute meditation. Do 60 seconds standing in line.
To keep the thread alive.
Keep the momentum. Any
Yeah.
gap lets the old, easier patterns creep back in. Continuity, however imperfect, is key.
That requires foresight, though, knowing what might derail you.
Absolutely. Which is the final Jody principle. Pre-solutions. You have to anticipate the consistency killers.
Like, literally list them out. Sickness, travel, crazy work deadline.
Yes. Write down every likely obstacle. Then decide in advance exactly what your response will be. When X happens, I will do Y.
So, when I get sick, I will do 5 minutes of gentle stretching instead of my full workout.
Perfect. Yale research confirms this works. By pre-deciding, you remove decision fatigue from the moment of crisis. Your brain doesn't have to figure it out under stress. It just executes the preloaded plan.
Okay, this Joji framework, it's intense. It's about building an almost unbreakable structure for consistency.
It's the engine that drives you through the long, hard road of Shu.
So if Shuhari is the path and Joji is the engine, what's the destination? What does years of this kind of rigorous, gopless practice actually create in a person?
It creates the kind of mental and physical resilience embodied by Miyamoto Musashi. His insights in the Book of Five Rings show the result of this deep discipline.
Musashi, the legendary undefeated swordsman, what was his foundation?
It starts with the principle of elimination. Musashi realized true strength wasn't about having the best sword. It was about eliminating dependencies.
Dependencies, like needing things to be perfect.
Exactly. He famously said, "Have no preferences, do not depend on any particular weapon. If your ability relies on perfect conditions, the right gear, silence, feeling motivated, you're fragile." True strength means you can perform anywhere, anytime. Sun, rain, tired, no equipment. Remember Lucas, the engineer? His discipline started with just 20 push-ups, but the rule was anytime, any place, any conditions, eliminate external dependencies.
Once you strip away the external props, you're left facing the internal stuff, right? Fear, anxiety.
Which is the core of Musashi's teaching. Hishin, the still mind. He said the mind in battle should be the same as when drinking tea.
Calm amidst chaos. That sounds almost impossible. Does it mean not feeling fear?
No, you definitely feel it, but you don't react to it impulsively. You train the mind to just observe the sensation. Notice, there is fear, without letting it hijack your actions.
And does just observing it change anything? Is there science here too?
There is. Stanford neuroscience shows that this kind of non-reactive observation, just noticing and labeling the emotion, literally starts to rewire the amygdala, your brain's fear center.
It rewires it. How?
It seems to raise your panic threshold over time. The external event might still be stressful, but your internal reaction becomes calmer, faster, more controlled. Lucas experienced this, right? When his boss yelled at him.
Yeah, he felt the fear, but didn't freeze. He just observed it and kept going.
Exactly. His training allowed him to access clarity instead of panic. That still mind enables the next level.
Which is?
The integration of Zanshin and Fushin, permanent consciousness and the unshaken mind.
Okay, Zanshin is awareness after the action, like reviewing what just happened.
Yes. The learning doesn't stop when the fight or the meeting or the practice session ends. You integrate the experience. This continuous reflection builds Fushin, the mind that's unshaken by external turmoil.
Like Musashi's tree metaphor. Quiet, not because it resists the wind, but because its roots are deep.
Beautifully put. That depth comes from consistent practice and integration. It's why Lucas, when he got fired unexpectedly...
He didn't panic, while everyone else was shocked.
Right. His mind was already trained. He felt the shock, acknowledged the new reality, and immediately shifted to practical action negotiating his exit, which led to a better job offer.
Wow. His inner state was stable even when his external world blew up.
That's Fushin. But there's one final barrier, isn't there? Even if you achieve this, there's the fear of losing it.
Fear of failure. Fear of breaking the streak. Fear of losing the master identity you've built.
Exactly. And Musashi's answer to that is Sutemi, abandoning the self.
Abandoning the self. What does that mean?
It means detaching from the outcome. Stop identifying with your success, your reputation, even your skills. Eliminate the fear of loss by internalizing. You can't lose what you are, only what you have.
So you become free because there's nothing left to protect.
That's the ultimate freedom. True fearlessness.
Okay, let's bring this all together for you listening right now. We've covered a lot. Shuhari, Joji, Musashi. What's the core message here?
I think the core message is that mastery isn't magic. It's not about waiting for inspiration or relying on talent. It's about process.
A demanding process.
Absolutely. It demands the humility to start with pure egoless copying to build that automated foundation. Then it requires the relentless structured consistency of Joji to keep going day after day without gaps.
Eliminating negotiation, preparing for obstacles.
Right. And over years, that disciplined practice cultivates the Musashi mindset resilience, eliminating dependencies, a still mind unshaken by fear or circumstance.
But the modern temptation is always there, isn't it? To skip the boring part, to jump straight to ha or re, to want the results without the reps.
It's the biggest trap. Wanting self-expression before you've earned the skill, wanting the wisdom without the work. This system, it doesn't really allow for shortcuts.
Mastery demands a hefty price, paid upfront in discipline and humility.
Well said.
So the real question for you is pretty direct. Are you truly willing to commit to this kind of systematic path, to pay that price?
Or will you keep searching for that magic bullet, that shortcut that, according to these masters, simply doesn't exist?
Spending years looking instead of doing.
Musashi had a term for the final integration. Kenzanichi. The sword and Zen are one. Action and awareness become inseparable.
And when you reach that level,
When you operate from that place of deep integration, people will notice. They might even find your level of focus, your calmness under pressure a bit unnerving. That's not normal, they might think.
and that's the sign.
When your discipline makes others slightly uncomfortable, that's when you know you're touching on realized human potential. The path works. It's been proven for centuries. But you have to walk it rep by rep, day by day.